Hello and welcome back. For those just tuning in, I'm Paul Murphy from Kingscott Accountants in Gloucester, and in this short video I'll be going through the bank section of Xero. To get there we go to Accounts, I'll just click on that and then Bank Accounts, and then the blue bar here that says 38 items, reconcile 38 items, is telling us that there's 38 items still to be allocated in the system. It might be worth saying at this point that this is where clients quite quickly find real-time savings by using this cloud package. Most of the UK banks now support direct feeds into Xero, which means you do not need to type up any bank data. Instead, each night your previous day's bank activity will flow automatically into Xero. Some banks still require a bit of manual intervention in this process, but the trend appears to be that all banks getting on board with these overnight feeds. So here is a bank feed that's come through, and Xero always presents it this way. So on the left hand side of the screen you'll have 10, and always just 10 per page. You'll have 10 statement lines effectively, and then on the right hand side is where we kind of end up putting those lines. Now the things I want to go through in this section, because we are kind of limited for time, because you could talk for hours about these things, is I want to look at reconciling an invoice that we've raised already on the system. I want to look at dealing with a part payment or a deposit made by a client. I want to look at credit card sales, and then also a look at expenses as well. So we will cover the most common scenarios. I think that will cover probably 90% of bank transactions. I don't know where I got that percentage from, but it's a significant proportion, let's say. Okay, so you will probably already notice the green box at the bottom of the screen, and for those who have seen my earlier session on this, we actually created an invoice for Hamilton Smith for £400 plus VAT. And so what this has done here is the system has noticed that we had a bank receipt of £480 with the description H. Smith Limited, and it is kind of suggesting, that's what this green box is, it's suggesting that that is a payment of this invoice. And if that is indeed correct, then we need to do no more than just click OK. By clicking OK, the invoice will no longer be outstanding on the system. It will show that it's been paid, and if we have a balance sheet in here as well, so that will also show that the bank's been, if you like, uplifted by £480 as well. So I'll just click that one through. Now if I just click through, it is 10 per page, but you do get used to it. It's kind of a way of not overwhelming you with, because you might have hundreds of bank transactions that you need to go through. So sometimes it's better to do kind of piecemeal chunks. I see we've got just over 30 in needing to be allocated in here. But here's a couple more invoices. So if I wanted to recognise those as being paid, if indeed that bank deposit was for the city agency invoice, then I would just click OK. And that would reconcile it. In fact, I will do that, and I'll assume that one's correct as well there. So that's, if you like, that's a few easy wins, that when you do get a bank feed come in, it should recognise any obvious things to invoices that you've already raised, or expense invoices that you've already put on the system as well. So that's basic sales invoice in there. Another common scenario is actual kind of part payments. So what we have here, the first line is a deposit made by Jacaranda Maple Systems of £2,000. Now there is no invoice for £2,000. There's a much larger invoice on the system, so the system can't just, it doesn't know what to do with the £2,000. So what we need to do is match it up against the actual invoice that we did raise. Now to do that, it's quite straightforward. There's a find and match function here that will bring up all your outstanding invoices. Here's the one we want, Jacaranda, and if we just click on it there, we'll get the option to split the invoice. So if we do click on that, it will say part payment of £2,000, which is exactly what this is. We click split, click OK, and that's just a date warning there, because the payment was dated before the invoice date, but that's my fault. So please ignore that. But basically what that's done now is mark that as being part paid by £2,000. So if we were to produce a statement from the system for that customer, it would be for £4,000. So that's two quite common scenarios there. Number 3 that I wanted to look at was credit card transactions. So a lot of retail clients, they're not raising individual sales invoices for sale that's going through the till, but they are appearing regularly in the bank account, and it's a good opportunity to kind of set up a system from the start that deals with those transactions quite quickly. So if you look here, in each day we've got a credit card transaction coming through, which is the if you like the sales for that day, credit card wise, for the, let's say, a shop in this case. What we can do here is create a rule whereby, if I just click through this now, every time money comes into the bank and it says it's got the word card, it might be your actual kind of merchant number within the reference. Put this to sales. Here we go. We can have this put to, we can kind of automatically allocate it basically. If I just put this through here, so card sales, and it's noticed here that it's VAT. The system is set up basically. This is a VAT registered business, so that will come through automatically. The region's quite interesting here. I won't really use this in this scenario, but if you did have a business that could be broken down into departments, like here it's regions, you can have that option put into the system for you. So if I just click save now, what this should do is for each of these credit card receipts is just click OK. In other words, apply the rule sales. So what will happen now is, although I've got a transaction on every day, I can click through them like so, and what that will be doing is marking them as payments, putting them on the VAT return, and recognising them in my system as actual sales. So that's an obvious way there that you could kind of knock off quite a few bank transactions in one fell swoop by just setting up rules. It doesn't just have to be for sales as well. So in this scenario here, I've seen central city parking appear quite a lot. So what I could do here is this will be, if I just change this to parking, well, I can actually just do central city parking, I think. Basically, I'm saying whenever there's money going out to the bank and the description is central city parking, I want it to recognise this as central city parking. There we go. Oops, typo. I want it to recognise it as parking. I should hopefully have a travel code in here. Yeah, it's national travel. Depending on the VAT rate, there might be, say, no VAT on this particular transaction. Central city parking, and I click OK, and I've created a rule now basically. So whenever central city parking appears on my bank statement, it wants to put it straight to parking, and I can just tick those off now. And suddenly, there's a few more. There we go. And there we go. There's a car transaction. Just looking now, when we started off with almost 40 transactions, we've now down, we're not quite half there, but I haven't gone through all the pages to tick off all the easy wins, but you can see how you can easily narrow it down quite quickly and reconcile your bank in a matter of minutes, whereas if you were doing old style spreadsheets or even handwritten ledgers, it would take you hours to do this. So hopefully you can see the obvious time savings by kind of working with a package like Xero to be able to achieve this. So that was just a quick overview of what the bank is capable there within the system, and hopefully there's another rule here, 711. So again, you're teaching the system that when you actually first deal with one of these transactions, you kind of put it in place so that forevermore the system will know what to do with say a credit card receipt. There we go. Just got it down to 21. There's a again, here it's looking to recognise an amount with an invoice outstanding for the same amount. So that concludes this short session on the bank, but hopefully there you can see how there's some real quick time savings to be made by kind of automating or using this technology to its full advantage. So thank you for listening.